All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to this amazing Hero webinar. This is our second webinar. We're really excited. We've had about 200 different students and associates who've been interacting with us now for the last several months. And this one, of course, this is one that everybody's been very interested in attending, how to pay off your student loans in 90 days. I just want to let you know, I did pay off my student loans in 90 days after opening up my clinic. That isn't hyperbole. It's not a metaphor. It actually happened. And the reason I know the number so clearly that it was exactly 90 days is I was at a financial seminar and the speaker was talking about making sure to pay off all your debt, pay off your student loans before you start buying anything or investing in anything. So I raised my hand. I was, again, 3 months into my clinic. And I asked, hey, if I have enough money in my bank account right now to pay off all my student loans, should I do it? The moderator sort of paused. He looked in the back and he said, a medical doctor here at the seminar just broke his water glass and cut his jugular because he couldn't believe, this guy couldn't believe that 3 months in practice, I could be debt free. And so I was. Now, just like you though, I did leave school zillions of dollars in debt and really wanting to achieve some lofty goals, but just didn't have the preparation, didn't have the training. So I lost many very stressful years and opportunities. And so Dr. Matt and I, we started Hero. We do these events. We get involved with companies like Hero to help save you the pain and just get you right to the thriving part. So Dr. Matt's going to talk about preparation and training. Let me turn it over to you, Dr. Matt.
All right, awesome. Super excited to have everybody here, even wearing my Hero shirts, because we know that you all can be literally not just a hero in your community, but hero around the world. And I want to start off by saying this. I hope that everybody here realizes that this isn't what Dr. Ben and I do for a living. So this is something that we do because we're very passionate about changing the world, not just through chiropractic, but changing your world, because we're going to go through a couple steps as we lead up to how to pay that off. That's very functional, even though it's going to be a little more metaphysical at first. So we're going to get into that here in a moment. Also, just want to let everybody know, if you have any questions or you want to set up an appointment specifically to speak to Dr. Ben and myself, look in your chat box. Click that at any time. We have a full technical support team to be able to get that done as quick as possible, so you don't miss out on it. So broadcasting live here in Ohio at the Hero Training Center. I'm going to try to get up here and go over a couple different things here with everybody, but I want to move up to here. And the reason I like to do this is because I'm going to try to zoom in here. I want to talk about specifically the core congruency going for your dreams. Everybody here has a dream. Everybody here in school, if you're an associate, even if you're a doctor that's just kind of, snooping around and saying, what's up with these guys? How can they do what they're doing? What's happening? You have to have a congruency that is in the core of who you are, the values that are set inside. I'm going to try to lower it down just a little bit here so you guys can see this a little bit better. But you have to have a core congruency value system. And what we see is during the process of student bubble to associate, bad things can possibly happen. So the very first part of Hero, before you can pay off student loans, which Dr. Ben's going to get to, is you have to have a very solid congruency lifestyle that's lived out. And that's really the above, down, inside out lifestyle. And let me tell you a little bit of story. My story, in 13th quarter, my dad being an uber successful chiropractor, I stayed up all night. Couldn't wait till about 5 o'clock. And I called my dad up. I was down at Life University getting ready to hit some 13 quarter classes. And I'm like, Dad, what happens if I don't make it? What happens if I'm not successful like you are? And he's like, well, that's not something that's going to happen, because we're going to train and we're going to do all the things that need to happen for you to be who you're created to be in this planet. And that's something that every one of us have. You've stayed awake at night. I don't care who you are. We're all there. We have that commonality. Every person, can I be successful? Am I going to be able to do the things? Lord, I don't want to miss out doing things with my spouse, with my kids, maybe not even married yet, but doing the traveling, making sure I have the bank account that I want to have, making sure I can pay this enormous monstrosity of loans that Dr. Ben was speaking about, and we're going to be getting to in just a little bit. But it starts with, can you be congruent on the inside? Because there's a lot of things that will try to pull you away on the outside. You need to start doing this. You need to start doing this. Maybe here's the thing. I don't know if anybody here, and I'm sure everybody has studied neurology, but if you look at functional neurology on the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, all those things that happen, thoughts left by themselves are innately negative. That's why there's more alcoholics and drug addicts out there than multimillionaires. So here's what we have to start changing. We have to start changing things in the congruency value of who you are. So you got to write that down. So number one. Number two, here's what I want you to understand. And this is a big misconception. And Dr. Ben, if you need me to zoom this in for everybody to see, but I wrote down student, associate, successful entrepreneur. Here's what people start to think is that I'm going to go from a student to an associate to a doctor. And the reality of it is, here's what I want everybody to really get, especially if you're in school and maybe even the first 2 years out of school, you're maybe associating with somebody. Here's what it is. When I went to life, and I'm sure things have changed in the last couple of decades, but here's what you were actually called doctor in the 7th quarter in student clinic. So you started taking care of fellow team member world changers in 7th clinic. Now, a lot of those people that I've been in school with, they're out of practice. They don't know how to practice. A lot of people that you're in school with right now, those of you that don't get the understanding of one, you're not going to get the understanding of two. Here's what happens. It's not student, associate, doctor. It's student, associate, successful entrepreneur. But here's what happens. If there's no training involved, training is a key word, and I'm going to define the word, and Dr. Ben's going to get on as well and define the word training. It's not becoming a doctor, because a lot of people go from associate to, unfortunately, a failing businessman.
And Dr. Matt, I do want to jump in because, I've been out of school now. I hate to admit it. I know you can't believe it because how good I look, but I've been out of school 27 years. And the thought probably is, if you're a student or if you've just graduated, you're an associate, that pretty much your career just keeps going up. You keep learning, you keep gaining new experiences, you keep making more money, and things get better and better. But a lot of people from my class no longer practice. They never made it. I have 2 friends that I still communicate with to this day who they have never made a penny. So these are people who are my age. I'm over 50 now. And these are doctors who have no money in the bank. They've got nothing saved. They still have all their student loans and a lot of other debt. And they're really struggling because they did go from student to associate to doctor, but that doctor that they became was not a successful entrepreneur. It's like Dr. Matt said, because they didn't get the training, didn't have the type of support we're talking about here at Hero, they became a failing entrepreneur.
Right. And so here's what happens. I want you to understand this: the doctor does not equal the very fundamental thing called mindset that needs to change. So we have to start. So so you're a doctor as a student, you're a doctor as an associate, and you're a doctor whether failing or successful. Over in this, unfortunately, if you're failing, you're typically out. Over 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Here's what I want you to understand. The mindset has to change from student to associate to successful entrepreneur. You guys catch that? That's what the hero, Dr. Ben, didn't pay off the loans in 90 days because he went from student to associate to doctor. Something clicked inside, and I'm going to get to how that happens so you can fundamentally not miss out on anything that is in your heart. So let's talk about number 3. So number 3 is, there is a very specific, it's not just joining any program, because there's a lot of programs out there. There is an art form to the process of transformation, okay? So there are a lot of fears. So you can be a stud or a studette, associate, does not mean that you got the training to be that successful entrepreneur. Right now, everybody right now needs to click that chat button. I'm telling you, we're going to show you, we're going to change your world. But there's an art. So we have mastered the art of tearing down and destroying and building. You understand that? And it's very, very simple to be able to build that process of a successful entrepreneur. So here's what I want you to understand. Training is not only script and procedure training. Does that make sense? Because everybody can go on whatever the websites are right now, and there's a whole bunch of them out there, and get all the scripts that you can possibly need to ever be in practice. You understand all the procedures in practice, all the latest gimmicks in practice, all the latest flow models in practice. And although we are masters at that, I want you to understand that training starts in the mindset, because I know a lot of people, Dr. Ben, and you guys know your friends right now, right, that have all the procedure manuals, and they think they're going to be going out there. The people that have the most procedure manuals, in my opinion, are sometimes, unfortunately, the worst off in practice. They don't even know what to do because nothing's changed in the mind. All right, so training is absolutely paramount. Not just saying, give me a script. I'm training with a doctor right now, and he is a absolute phenom as an associate, but we're working on transformation of mindset, transformation of mindset, transformation of mindset. And then this stuff here becomes innate, and it becomes transformational in the other. Here, how can you back up to number one? If you're not congruent on the inside, you're not going to be able to see that on the outside, and you're not going to be able to deliver that on the outside, right? It's a completely different paradigm. If you understand human behavior, you have to be able to lead people. And if you can't lead yourself because of doubts and fears and the certain challenges, we will literally walk you through. I remember doing so one of our people that are in, the doctors that are in the Hero Clinic right now, he's like, you know what? When he first started, he's like, you know, I'm so excited that I almost pooped my pants, doc, and I was so nervous that I almost pooped my pants. I'm like, great, that means your mindset's starting to change. But you know, what are you going to do for that to happen? And we literally walked it through, and we can do that for every single one of you. And Dr. Ben's going to be getting to that. So training is absolutely key. And it's not just, hey, here's some scripts, go ahead and memorize them. Here's some procedures, go ahead and memorize them. It's literally taking that time to go through human behavior, starting with you, starting with me, and then being able to transform people into lifetime patients. It's super duper fun. And I wish that we could get on here, and not as a boastful section, but as a blessing section, to be able to let people know the amount of monetarily what can be collected. But that's not, we're not trying to sell you on that. What we're trying to tell you is don't miss out on being who you are designed and created to be. Every one of you are designed to be a hero, world changer. End of discussion. Now, you might say, here's what happens to some of you right now. Maybe not. I want that, but I don't know if I'm that. I know my characteristics. I know my flaws. I know all the things that come up in my life that I want to be that world changer, but I don't know if I can be that world changer. I'm letting you know, and that's that process of mastering the building and destroying, building you to be that world changer, destroying those negative mindsets, those challenges, those fears. Okay, so number 4, and this is very important, before a mindset can change, a heart, your heart, my heart, needs to change. So we want every single patient in the clinic to be a hero patient. And you as the hero doctor need to have transformational processes in place through training to help now change the mindset of the people, but that starts with their heart. So, I mean, we have patients, and Dr. Ben has patients. I mean, I have people that I started on week 1 that are still patients in the clinic. decades, right? 20 years later. So how can that happen? Well, we have a process that changes the heart of people inside that we go through training. But before you can train on the mindset, there has to be an all out, like a take me on everything. So we all know stories of, people that are highly trained, highly skilled, they're absolute masters of what they do. But you have someone that comes on the field, or someone that goes on the court, or some type of battle scenario, or something in a business arena that someone can practice with all their heart. Think about this. So I love Stevenson. So there's something that's called the triune of life, and most of you have probably heard of it. But it's 100% intelligence, 100% force, 100% matter. Here's what I want you to realize. 100% heart, 100% mindset, 100% training equals the 100% you. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's get down here to number 5. So number 5, and this is something that is absolute, if you're coachable. And we have a process that so everybody comes in to us with dross, a little bit of blackness, a little bit of negativity, a little bit of, we all have that. We talked about that up here, right? And that through that process, we help, bring the fullness of purity of heart out, the purity of mindset out. There's fellowship, there's family, there's congruency in our team. But here's what happens. If you're coachable, you're a millionaire. I've seen it happen time and time again. And I'm telling you, that's how you pay off your student loans. All right, so Dr. Ben's going to walk us through the actual process in the community. I know this was more abstract. We're now going to transition. Click the chat box. We'll be back with you in just a little bit. Dr. Ben, you're up.
Great. And well, it's in the chat box. What you'll see our email. You'll also see our phone number. So if you want to hear more about this kind of training we're doing there in Ohio, to be trained right out of school, to be a superstar, to be the kind of person, as I get into right now, actually paying off your student loans in 90 days. If you want to learn more about that, email us or call us. The other thing is, just for Dr. Matt, as he said, and we don't do this for a living. We are doing this webinar. We're here for you. We want to talk about your future. So we're happy to just get on the phone and discuss your plans, help you navigate what is clearly a tough road to be a success as a chiropractor, so that you have a great life. That's what God wants for you. It's what Dr. Matt and I want for you. So we'd love to talk to you. So let me get into it. So here it is, why you got on, how I paid off my student loans in 90 days, and why you can too. So there really are just 2 breakthroughs that I want to go through this evening. And I'm actually going to prove some of this and how it works, because we're going to go to some slides in a moment, and you're going to see it. So if any of you think, well, I don't really believe he did all that, well, I'll actually show you the pictures. We've got actual documentation that all of this occurred. So it started when I got out of school. Again, I had no training. So I just got out and was winging it. I went into my first job, and back to Dr. Matt's point on associateships versus training, my first job, it was in Virginia, and the doctor just buried me in the x-ray room. So all I did was the things that he didn't want to do. I developed his x-rays, I marked his x-rays, I even helped him move. So that was my role there for about 3 months before I realized I'm not going to get anything out of this. I'm not getting any better. And I was poorer than when I started, and I packed up my car and I headed to another job in Miami. Now I got there, and again, still had no training. Back then, we were getting paid $300 a week. This is back in the 20s during the Great Depression. And so here I was winging it, making $300 a week, sleeping on somebody's floor, and now it's, 3-4 months out of school. So to get new patients, I heard you should go to a swap meet, like some sort of fair. And so there was this swap meet, this poor swap meet in Miami. I go the first time, and I get nobody. I get no new patients. So now I'm really depressed. I'm out of school several months. I'm in my second job. I'm broke, and I'm failing again for a second time. So this is how it starts when you didn't get the chance to prepare in school. And again, you didn't go into any really good level of training after. Thankfully, I hooked up with a buddy of mine who had been out of school a few years. And he said, you know what? Why don't you just come with me, at least to start doing some adjusting and start serving, I go to a drug rehab facility in downtown Miami every Monday night. Come with me and just help me educate these people and get them adjusted. So I went down to this drug rehab clinic in a really bad part of Miami, which is, kind of scary to begin with. But I went there and I was adjusting dozens and dozens of people. I hadn't had a chance to do that. Again, I marked x-rays in my first job, was failing in my second job, and now I got a chance to serve. I just started loving on these poor people in this drug rehab facility, lecturing them, serving for hours a night, and it was awesome. I went back to the swap meet the next week after having served at the drug rehab center, and some of the people that work at the drug rehab center, not the actual drug addicts, but people that work there, they were actually walking along at the swap meet. They stopped and saw what I was doing, which was continuing to fail, and they stood there and helped me bring over people. And I, for the first time in my career, we closed 23 new patients that day. And I went back, converted all 23 into patients, and had an overnight success as far as a clinic going down there in Miami as an associate. My bosses were paying me a percentage of what I brought in. So it's $300 a week plus 40%. A few weeks later, as a 23-year-old kid without a penny, they handed me a check for $9,000. I had never seen $9,000 in one place in my life. I was down tens of thousands of dollars to Life University, but I was actually handed a check for $9,000. And that's really the first breakthrough. I saw that when you serve, you just go out there and love people, tell the story, and good things can happen. So I left that internship and finally was able to get open. And again, without the training and support, by the time I finally opened up this clinic I want to talk to you about, I had actually been in practice, or actually out of school, for a few years. But I go into my first practice, and this is the one, again, within 90 days, I had so much money. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in my bank account. I could pay off all my student loans in just 90 days. And here's what that process looked like. So first of all, I understood now, because of Miami, it starts with serving. So even though it took me a few months to get that clinic open, when I got to Orlando, I didn't know, again, how to get the right lease. I didn't know how to do the build out. I didn't know how to get started, who to even talk to. So I was stuck there for a while before I said, you know what? Remember Miami, just start serving. So I actually went and I found my first place to serve. It was actually a shelter for children. So I went into the shelter and I just started adjusting all the children. Then I started to adjust the people that worked at the shelter. And those people actually said, hey, listen, we have insurance. We want to pay you. So I started making money because these people that worked there wanted to pay me money. Then I went to the homeless shelter. And I just started adjusting all the homeless there. One really cool story, the person that ran the homeless shelter didn't believe in chiropractic. It was actually, believe it or not, it was hard to get him to let me adjust homeless people during this lunch. And in fact, at first, he put my table right exactly next to the garbage can where they dumped their trays after they were done eating. And when I would come, he would say, hey, who wants to get their back cracked? So he was really not into it. However, after I'd been doing it for a few months, he came to me weeping. And this was this great Christian man who was serving the community. And he said, I want to apologize. He goes, let me tell you a story. One of our homeless people that lives here at the shelter, he just got a job and was reunited with his family. He's completely back on his feet. When I asked him what happened, he said, well, I don't know if you know this, but the way I ended up homeless is I hurt my back, and the pain pills I was taking, I started getting hallucinations and hearing voices. I didn't know it was the pain pills. I just started hearing these voices, hallucinating. I lost my family, lost my job, ended up living in the street. But after that doctor by the garbage can started to adjust me, my pain went away. So I got off all my drugs. And all of a sudden, the reason I know it was the drugs is as soon as I dropped the drugs, the voices went away, the hallucinations went away, and I was able to go out and find work and reunite with my family. And so at that point, this guy gave me a nice room to adjust the homeless people. And by the time I got open, as you'll hear in a minute, by the time I was going, all these people had heard about this, and it had a lot to do with why my practice started so quickly. The next place I went to, and this again is before I'm even open. This is a lot of, again, being somebody who can pay off their student loans, have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank in just 90 days, before the clinic even opened, while the build out was occurring, while I was still trying to get licensed, meaning get my certificate of occupancy and be allowed to actually open up a business, get my insurances, get my Blue Cross and Blue Shield numbers and things like that. I was just serving. So I started serving at 3 different gyms. I would go in there and just tell the owner, hey, I'll adjust you. I'll adjust the people here. I just want to start serving. So I just started adjusting at the gym. In fact, one of the owners had problems getting the gym open at 5 in the morning because he lost his employee. I would open up the gym for him, be there at 5 in the morning, and just start adjusting the whole morning crew before they went to work. From there, I went actually to churches. And I want to share something with you, because as I went to these churches, as I went to the homeless shelter, as I went to the gyms, I just wanted to serve. I just wanted to get going. And so, you might ask, well, did you get paid to open up the gym at 5 a.m.? No. In fact, none of the people I adjusted at the gym ever paid me while I was seeing them at the gym for free before getting open. When I went to the churches, I literally said to the pastors that I was meeting with, listen, I just want to serve. If you need me to stack chairs, I'll stack chairs. If you need me to clean floors, I'll clean floors. I'm here to get behind you, the church, and the work that God is doing here in this community. I'm not about 4 walls and a business. I'm about serving this community. This community is my community. God has put me here to save the lives of all 100,000 people around us. It's not about me in my 4 walls of a clinic. And so we would discuss, of course, not just stacking chairs or sweeping floors, but what I can do to save lives and help the people of the church achieve God's purposes and fulfill their destiny. So I started working with a lot of churches and adjusting people at the churches, serving at the churches, being there on the weekends from multiple churches. Then I went to the charities. And as I was working with the first charity, the 4C Head Start School program, and the second charity, the Make-A-Wish program, I actually became certified to work with these charities. I was helping them raise money, but also speaking to the people who work there, speaking to the people that needed charity about chiropractic, about reaching their potential, their God-given potential, and getting out of the situation they were in. I started doing screenings at the gyms. I started doing screenings at the church fairs. I was doing screenings at all the businesses I was starting to work with, and I would collect $20 at the screenings, even though I wasn't open yet. I just tell them, hey, I'll call you when I'm open. And I started getting all these people on a list. I had 180 people on a list, and I took all the money and I would give it back to the charities and back to the churches. In fact, for Make-A-Wish, I became the #1 cash donor and was honored because of how much money I raised for them, giving them all the money from the screenings I was doing on their behalf. So, again, serving, and I'll get into a few more details in a minute, but I want to touch on a few more of the places. I went to the Walmarts and the Targets. Now, they were really resistant to bringing in chiropractors, but I said, listen, I'm going to be the Walmart chiropractor. I'm going to be the Target chiropractor. So I'm going to serve you. So where are people getting hurt the most? Where do people struggle the most? And they both shared with me it was on the loading and unloading docks at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was showing up at 2 or 3 in the morning and getting to know these workers and sharing with them how to lift and bend and move these heavy boxes without hurting themselves. And the managers fell in love with me and said, listen, you can screen here anytime you want. And again, I would bring in my table and just start to adjust everybody. Literally, before I was ever open, I was adjusting hundreds of people a week. I went to the schools and I met with the coaches. I'm a wrestler. I played football, weightlifting team. I did all those things. So I met with all those different coaches, and they introduced me to other coaches from sports that I don't believe in. And they actually started letting me adjust the coaches and adjust the athletes. I started to adjust some of the teachers. And then something really neat happened. The principals found out, the principals of these schools, and I learned that principals are kind of like the owners of the school. They get to make all the choices pretty much for the school. And so I would bring my table into all the principals' offices for 5 high schools and adjust each of the principals. Again, all before I was ever opened. It started opening up doors because of all the charity work and the school work and the church work. it started to open up doors. And so I was able to start doing talks and meeting with people at Disney, which is, one of the local big businesses here in Orlando, with Tupperware, which had their headquarters in Kissimmee, where I was. Quaker Gatorade, they're now owned by Pepsi, but they started off Quaker, it was Gatorade, and Quaker brought out Gatorade, and then Pepsi bought out the whole thing. But I was working with that company. And so slowly but surely, I was getting in with all the major big box stores, as I mentioned, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, and all the major businesses. And then finally, I got open. 4 months later, my doors were open, and I was sort of concerned. I was having so much success in the community. I was concerned about what would happen now that I was open. But again, I had 180 people on the list, and all these other people I had been adjusting. So I started to call them, let them know that I was open, and the phone wouldn't stop ringing. I hired a CA who used to work for another chiropractor. On the very first day, she came up to me in the middle of the shift crying, and she said, I've never experienced anything like this. The phone won't stop ringing from new patients. It's like God is just sending people in. So we had 32 new patients on my first day, nearly 50 the first week, and over 100 the first month. And we never, ever, in the time I was in that clinic, ever had less than 100 new patients a month, except for the 1 month where we had 3 hurricanes. Then I only had 60 new patients. Within 90 days, we were seeing 660 visits per week, and I made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that I was putting right in the bank. I was not a spender. I was living on somebody's couch during all of this and driving the same car I'd always driven and spending nothing. So I saved every penny I made, and that's when I went to that financial seminar and said, hey, I've got hundreds of thousands in the bank. I could pay off my student loans right now. Should I do it? And I absolutely wrote that check. And this kept evolving. I kept staying in touch with all those community organizations. With the schools, for example, the working with the sports teams and the principals evolved into me teaching CEUs at any school, anytime I wanted. So I could teach CEUs to the teachers, administrators, to the workers at all the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high schools. I was even going down to the bus depot, and I was doing trainings for all the bus drivers. At one point, as a result of all this, I was seeing 33% of the school system was my patient. And at that time, they had great insurance too. Eventually, all the insurance in Central Florida went away. And eventually working with very closely with Disney and those other big businesses that I was talking about. But it started with serving. So what I want to do is I want to take you through a PowerPoint right now, because I think it really drives home what I'm talking about. And of course, part of the training, Dr. Matt mentioned we've got somebody right now that's going through the hero training process to go into one of our hero clinics here in a few months. And this is what I'm doing with him right now. When he and I train together, he trains right there in Ohio with Dr. Matt. But when me and Dr. Tyler get on the phone, we're talking about how to take over your town, how to completely overwhelm the community with this sort of love and service so that you can explode overnight. My goal for Dr. Tyler is he would pay off all his loans and everything he owns Hero in just a few months using this system. So let me switch. I'm going to share this PowerPoint here, the slideshow. And again, here's the proof that of how this all works. So this is all, I actually have this book, 0 to $1 million in 1 year. And it's based on how I pulled this off in chiropractic in that clinic, but I've now done it many, many of my own clinics. I've had over 9 of my own clinics. I've had 10 clinics currently, and I've opened up over 120 clinics total. And the people that have followed this plan closely have been able to go to $1 million in 1 year. I've actually gone to $1 million in 1 year in many, many businesses, including coaching and publishing and many other things. This gets into what we're talking about for you right now, associateship versus training, making good long-term financial decisions, not getting into something out of school or early on because it's cheap, but something that's going to really pay off over time. Because what I've learned now that I've been out of school for 27 years, like I've shared, the reason the tens of millions have established themselves in the bank account are based on all the little decisions where I wasn't, just simply being penny wise and dollar stupid, making investments that I knew would accumulate, and thankfully over time have accumulated. And what I want to share with you before I jump into the slides is go for the impossible. I remember Dr. Matt, because Dr. Matt started off, he was a client of mine, and he came up to me as a really young guy just out of school and said, do you think I can build a 1,000-a-week clinic? And of course, I'm like, Matt, you can do anything you want to do. And he wanted to go for the impossible, and he did. He built a 1,000-a-week clinic. He now owns many clinics, many businesses, because he went for the impossible. So here's the philosophy: serve. When you take care of the people that nobody wants, God will send you to the people that everybody wants. Here's me working in the rescue mission. You'll see me. These are just great stories. These are all people that through chiropractic, through the encouragement we can give them, through our above, down, inside out philosophy. And like Dr. Matt said, living this congruent life, not only did we adjust people and transform their body, but we transformed their lives. These are all people that came to me in this desperate situation, were getting adjusted, but also got themselves out of this homeless shelter, became gainfully employed, and going back down the road towards the destiny that God had in mind for them. Serve, like I said, sometimes working with the church was, yeah, Dr. Ben, we could use people to load and unload food for the hungry and the homeless, and there I was serving. And I could tell you events like this, two things. One is, I've gotten hundreds of patients from being part of events like this. I've ingratiated myself with a lot of organizations because they saw my heart to serve, but also I have on many occasions when I've done a PAD, so I did a PAD, a Patient Appreciation Day with Bible Baptist Church in Kissimmee, and we loaded up 4 trucks just like this with all the food people brought in, because we did a PAD where if you brought in food, you got free x-rays and a free adjustment in exchange for the donation. And the church got behind it. The entire choir came. They sent dozens of people to volunteer. McGruff, the crime dog, came to the PAD. And we had, literally on that one day, we had over 100 new patients just from that one day, and filled up trucks like this. And we made the papers. I mean, this is all during that 90-day process where we went and paid off my student loans in that period of time. And I didn't just pay off the student loans, by the way. I had money left over to invest and to actually buy a home. This is my waiting room there, again, just serving God. And with the mindset that, let me try and outserve God. Can I give so much that I'll give more than God will give me? And here's what I found out in those 90 days. You can't outserve God. So there's my waiting room at the homeless shelter, makeshift waiting room, packed out with people ready to come and have their life transformed. We get people from the community at the level we are serving the community. When people tell me they're not getting new patients and the practice isn't growing, I always say, are you serving your community? So here's a picture of me, lots of pictures in the paper of me adjusting all the athletes at the schools. You see Osceola Sports, my practice was in Osceola County. And there's me at a school just teaching kids. You don't really ever get a new patient from going and speaking to kids, but I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of classrooms, asking nothing in return, just a chance to talk to these kids, pour into them, and let them know that God has plans to prosper them, not to harm them, plans to give them hope in the future, and talk to them about chiropractic and how it helps them to reach their God-given health potential so they have the energy and strength to achieve their purposes and fulfill their destiny. So that's me just preaching up a storm to this classroom, and I've done it hundreds of times. And here's what happens. Again, we take care of the people that nobody wants, and God gives us the people that everybody wants. So here's me. This went from my local community to there's me speaking to 1,800 people in Zimbabwe. I'm doing a health talk, a chiropractic health talk to 1,800 people in Zimbabwe. We planted a church there that had over 1,000 new patients the first week. And what I'm telling these people, because they feel desperate and hopeless, it's one of the world's darkest places. And what you see me doing there is, yes, I can. And so that's what we would do over and over again. Everybody would stand up. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And we got all these people from Zimbabwe on their feet, and every one of them made an appointment to go to the clinic that week. We broke the x-ray machine, which is not an easy thing to fix when you're in Harare, Zimbabwe. This was an invitation I had to go speak at the 10th anniversary of the Columbine massacre. So that's 1,000 people lined up to go into Columbine High School where that massacre occurred, and they just had another shooting recently in the same area, for me to speak to these people about chiropractic, about health. And those are the doctors, those are the local doctors. So we made all these appointments with these 1,000 people to go to those local doctors. So what I was able to do locally, here I am doing globally, saving lives, to give these people, again, an idea of what it looks like to live a drug-free chiropractic lifestyle, so we don't see kids who are taking these medications that create these aggressive, suicidal, homicidal tendencies, to put that school on a better path. Here, after speaking at all my local churches, here I am speaking at two of the country's largest churches. I'm speaking at Elevation Church in Charlotte on the left. I'm speaking at Life Church in Oklahoma, the country's biggest church movement on the right. And these are, again, this came out of serving locally. You serve locally, God will call you globally. This is when you get the people everyone wants. It's right there in my clinic. So there's my wife, Dr. Sherry, and I. Because of our service to our community, all the churches opened up. We were able to do a community-wide wellness event called Extreme Makeover God's Way in dozens of churches. I mean, we got out of this just for my clinic and many other clinics. At that point, I had 5 clinics. We got hundreds of new patients. So we served the people that nobody wanted. God gave us the people that everybody wanted. Paying patients that came flocking into all 5 of my Central Florida clinics. And in fact, I became the chiropractor for the Orlando Magic during that time. And there's me adjusting Grant Hill. Again, I told you I had proof. I'm adjusting Grant Hill, became a Hall of Famer. He's one of the owners of the Phoenix Suns right now. And those companies, like I said, eventually I was into all these companies. With Disney, they actually invited me for a free cruise for my whole family to do workplace wellness for the whole cruise ship. I got to work with all 800 employees for this free cruise, but it all started literally started going to the homeless shelter. That connection came from actually adjusting at the children's shelter, and a connection there led to a connection at Disney, who then was willing to hear me out because they saw my heart for the community, and I was able to share with them how I also had a heart for their employees, and they're the largest organization in my town, and how I wanted to serve them for a better town. And it led to the Olympics. So adjusting all those kids for free. I mean, I adjusted thousands of kids for free in those rooms, these little weight rooms, sweating my tail off, adjusting kids for free at those high schools. And all of a sudden found myself the chiropractor for the 1995 World Wrestling team in Atlanta. I was the chiropractor at the Olympics in Atlanta in '96, the Olympics in Sydney, Australia, the London Olympics, Greek Olympics, Rio Olympics. So I've been all over the world, but it started with serving kids for free and taking care of those coaches and principals in those 5 high schools. Again, more proof. Here I am. There's Cale Sanderson. He and I got to know each other through working with the Olympic teams. He was an Olympic gold medalist, patient of ours. He's now not only a gold medalist, but the coach of Penn State that's won 8 of the last 9 national championships. And although I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm not excited about that, other than I'm excited for Cale. And in fact, my son is named Cale. Henry Cejudo, only person, patient of ours. He's spoken at some of my seminars. The only person in history to win world championships in 2 different sports. He won a world championship. He was a gold medalist at the Olympics in Greece, and China. And it was a Olympic, who also is the current MMA champion right now, and going to be an MMA champion in another weight class. So there'll be 3 different world championships between the 2 sports. And that's Rulon Gardner. He's the one who beat the Russian. He was my patient, beat the Russian in the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And here I am actually, what you can't tell is I'm about to take him down. That's what you can't tell there. I'm about to take down the American Bear, even though it doesn't look like it right there. But all this started by serving the people that nobody wanted, and God sent me the people that everybody wanted, struggling and doing things for free, but yet within 90 days, paying off all my student loans and then some. I was able to write this story down and tell it, became a New York Times bestseller, not only here in the States, but in Canada, bestseller in Australia, and you can see it's in Chinese. It's a bestseller in China as well. And it led to the top of many professional sports. Here I am with 3 of the most elite athletes in baseball history, one of the top coaches in baseball history, teaching them wellness. And actually, this is part of an organization that I was working for where we were teaching about finances, how to help players not end up broke, and working with wealthy players and wealthy managers like these guys to help athletes to succeed in their life. So obviously there's a lot of training that goes with this, a lot of detail, as Dr. Matt started with us. So we just want to help you do the same thing. So many doctors are not in practice anymore who graduated chiropractic college. So many default on their student loans. The average chiropractic salary is $69,000 per year. Dr. Matt shared with me that just in cash alone, forget the insurance, his one clinic this last month did $100,000 in 1 month just in cash. And that's primarily all profit. That's almost double what the average chiropractor makes in an entire year. There's no way you'll ever pay off your student loans at $69,000 of salary per year. And we want to stop that. So what we're hoping you'll do is you'll connect with us. Email us at theultimateinfluencegroup@gmail.com. You can call the cell there, 321-624-8032. So we can help you with your future. We've got a program. There's a great program I can share with you for when you're in school, because you got to start prepping in school. Don't leave school clueless. Leave school as a top recruit going out of school. And then what you can go into right after graduating, so you get not just associateship where you're marking x-rays, developing films, and helping doctors move their homes, but you're actually getting training. So you can go from a student to a doctor to a successful entrepreneur, not a failing entrepreneur. So we want to help you. Let's talk about your future. Dr. Matt, anything else to share? Let's see if we got any questions that people have in the chat box for us that we want to see here.
Absolutely. Let's go back, Dr. Ben. So you just gave us a whole bunch of information in a relatively short period of time. So let's go back to one of the very first things that you said. You said that you went to the swap meet. I've done that before as well, and they're not that fun, but it does show you how to serve. That's for sure. And then you went back the second day, and here's where I feel like some people's mind is at right now. And then you said you for the first time ever you closed, I think it was 23 people, right, to come into the office. But here's what happened. You then closed at the doctor's report 23 people producing the $9,000 check. Do we in the hero process and through the training teach that? So people, sometimes you're talking at a different stratosphere from maybe, and it's dreaming big and it's good stuff, but sometimes people are like, oh my goodness, that's what I want to do, but I don't even know how to get a patient into the office, let alone close them to pay dollars. So do we go over that process?
Yeah, and that is big, because getting them in and being, Dr. Matt, you talked about earlier, the mindset shift, the transformation you'll make as a doctor in the training, so that you have the potential to not only go through a process and some procedures, but the ability to convert. So yes, it's process, yes, it's procedure, and training on all of that, mastering it, but then breaking through in your mindset, transforming into this successful leader, this successful entrepreneur, so that people, because again, that $9,000 was 40% of what we converted those 23 people into. So that swap meet, and it was literally, people just had stuff laying on the ground. The person next to me had underwear. There was used underwear that she was selling. It was used clothing, secondhand clothing. I'm like, is that underwear? Are people really going to come up and give you $1 for underwear that's been used? And people did. And here I am standing there trying to get them in as a patient. The first week I got 0. But after I made my first transformation, we began to get many people every time we went back there. But it gets right back to that training you'll do there in Ohio with Dr. Matt.
So we do have somebody that just clicked the chat box. So I'm going to click this.
Oh, thanks for
Now that's just that. They're just making sure that if you have a question, you can go in there and ask a question. I do like Dr. Cynthia Sheik. Thank you for your shout out there. She said, I've been out of school since 2007. So she's been out of school for 12 years. And I know as amazing lady, by the way, with a lot of potential, but never had this guidance. And so she's now just getting open, which, praise God, that's perfect timing for her. And I'm expecting big things. But I think for most of us, we don't want to wait 12 years to finally get open. And I know she's been through a lot. I know she would have preferred to have gotten going right out of school, like we're suggesting here.
So anybody jump on, schedule a time. It is our heart's desire to be able to take you through this process. It's our heart's desire to be able to transform your world so you become who you desire to be, and ultimately who God desires you to be, and who your wife or your husband, your kids, who the patients, your community desire you to be.
Yeah, and finishing up here, just to let you know, we'll send this video out to you, particularly those of you that have been on tonight, and please share that because this is life-saving. Cynthia, it took her 12 years. We'd like to save people from that, but at least she's going to be successful now. I know she's plugged into programs like AMC, a great coaching program that she's plugged into. She's working with the Wellness Way. They're doing a lot of great things to be successful now. But we want to save people from 12 years. And we want to save people from making bad decisions and getting out there and struggling. So please share this so we can get on the phone with hundreds of people and talk to all of them about their future.
Right. So part of being a world changer is if you know somebody, and they might not be on the webinar right now, and this is something that we teach in the program as well. It's called speaking outside the room, or in this case, the webinar, is it's your responsibility. So if you want to be gigantic and successful, part of that responsibility now falls upon you to say, hey, guess what? I heard these two crazy guys on a webinar last night that want to change the world and want to change it in the schools. You need to contact them. So even if it may not be you, make sure that you hear something in school, hear something chilling out with your friends, whatever it may be. Give us, pass it along, give us even an email. Tori, one of our tech geniuses, can send out this webinar, and they can get a time with us as well.
And there is a question. Somebody asked, how early can they start this in school? The earlier, the better. School is not just preparation to pass boards. I mean, that's really what schools have to do, get you ready to pass your boards. You learn some technique for chiropractic, which is amazing, but also preparing to be a successful entrepreneur. I really love, Dr. Matt, how you put that, because we think it's student, doctor, and we're good, but it's not. It's student, doctor, successful entrepreneur. So if we could be teaching you the ropes and learning those procedures that really do work once you get out to convert those 23 that Dr. Matt just brought back up, the sooner the better. So contact us again. You can send us an email. We'll get you plugged in right while you are in school, regardless of what year you're in.
Right. So just to let I love marketing, just like Dr. Ben, and I was taught from a master, obviously. And I would have a bad habit of losing all of our marketing team members because they fell in love with chiropractic. And at one time, we had 7 marketers in school from the other clinics that were associated with us. So, well, if you're in school right now, we want to get you to one of our hero events. We have one coming up in Ohio. We have another one coming up in the southern states. I'm more of a Northman myself, but we're going to do that as well. It's going to be really close to Sherman Life. We're going to have people, great speakers there. But we have people right now. Great question about how early. We have people right now that are in school learning the process, being involved, and always keep on. We have more events that come up.
Dr. Matt, got a few more questions here. First of all, Dr. Ashley Prince, she's a amazing young lady. You're gonna hear the name Dr. Ashley Prince here, everybody on this line in the future. She's about to open up her clinic, and so excited about her. We've been working with her. Are you guys starting a student club? Not really. We invite people to the events we already do. So there are a couple events a year, like Dr. Matt mentioned, that we do with Hero that we invite people to come to. We'll have a bunch of students I know coming this year to a couple of the events. As far as the student program, again, we invite you to events. There are, we want to be connected with you in school. There's other great student programs. I'm also affiliated with the AMC student program. They've got a great one that's really inexpensive to join, something I could share with you if people are interested in that too, that are also part of preparing you while you're in school. So there's the big thing is talk to us so that we can help navigate. I think people just get lost and then they graduate and then they get hurt, and we're here to stop people from getting hurt. Shout out to Adrian Thane. He's also on the line. I know him quite well. He's an amazing guy. Thanks for being here.
So another opportunity that you may have if you're at this point in your school career is we do have multiple clinics that you can start training through the PEAK program. So that's either a 3-month or a 6-month process. So we've had people come up, start the actual training, and that training, our goal isn't to keep you here, is to create those transformations and then get you out. We know that you don't want to be stuck learning. You just went through, decades and decades worth of school from kindergarten all the way through. Maybe some of you had a career in between there, then did your professional school. We want to get you in, get you out. It's intensive training. You are not an associate. I have lots of associates. We're not interested in more associates. We're interested in world-changing chiropractors. So get up in the PEAK program. Look us up. Contact either Dr. Ben, myself, Tori. Get in that program, and then we'll try to help facilitate a quicker turnaround.
We got another question here from Lakendra. So she's been trying to watch the program. She's a mom and wanted to know about a strategy to pay off the loans. And so, if you missed kind of the steps that I took that were pre-open steps and what I did afterwards to generate that many visits per week, which generated that many hundreds of thousands of dollars in 90 days. If you missed that, you're asking about getting on the phone with us to discuss the strategy. Absolutely. We're inviting everybody here to email us or give us a call at that number, and we'd be happy to discuss the strategy. And for me, as a single man who got opened, who had the time, I paid him off in 3 months. There's a AMC doctor, Dr. Lindsay Holman, and she's a complete and total stud. So she, in 6 years, has paid off all her student loans. She owns her building. She's married to a wonderful man that serves in the military. She's doing incredible things. And so 6 years, if you've got your own building, you've amassed money in your bank account and investments, you've got no student loans, and you're cranking in your clinic in 6 years, that's an enormous success. Very few people have ever been able to accomplish that in the history of chiropractic. She's done something, Dr. Lindsay, that very few people have done. So, the 90-day thing that I'm teaching is something that is possible for you to do. But if that takes, a few months longer or even a few years, you're still way ahead of the game by following these strategies and getting the kind of training you can get from Dr. Matt and the team there in Ohio.
Yeah, and it's really helping you navigate through not just, when you get out, and you don't just become an entrepreneur, you actually have, and people don't, I think, Dr. Ben, really grasp the bigness of what that is, because at that point, you're not just a doctor. You're responsible. The buck stops with you, literally, whether it's people coming in, how you spend your money. If you're coachable, we're going to help navigate you to become a millionaire, and that has to do with, navigating of, the insurances out there, not just how you bill insurances, but what do you have for your family? Your 401k practices, your budgeting practices, your spending. What are we doing for investing? What are you doing for real estate? What myself, I've been blessed, because I've seen that from, one of our other partners, Dr. Dave Pamer, Dr. Ben as well, many different businesses that, now you have this money that really starts to really work for you. And it happens very passively, that can amass a great amount of wealth. And that's something that we want to train you. We want to coach you how to do that, because a lot of times people just don't have the training wheels to get to that point.
You have another question from Jacob Brandman. Thanks for being on, Jacob. Is it affordable for students? Well, I mentioned, for example, the AMC program is, they've got a thing, it's $99 and you get a $50 gift certificate in return. So it's like $49. You get a free $50 Amazon gift card. And in our program, while you're in school, there isn't any charge. So it's something that we give you the material so you can be preparing for graduation so that you're ready to go. You could peak. You can come to our hero seminars. There's no charge when you're in school. And then for those of you that are interested in opening up through Hero, what that is, that program is to get you in your own practice right after school. After you've trained, we open you up. We actually put in the money to open you up, and then you simply pay the money back. There's a lot more details we can get into with any of you if you're interested in us opening you up a clinic through Hero. And again, email us or get in touch with us through the number. I've already gotten a number of texts I've come through from some of you, and again, looking forward to talking to you. When will your next Hero seminar take place, and how can I sign up? Again, just we'll send you. We're happy. That's Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. We'll send you that. So if you email us, we'll email you the details. So just when they're, I know the next one we're doing, we got one in July and we have one in October. There's a July one in Ohio, and then October 18th and 19th at 5 Points Church in the area of South Carolina, right in the Clemson area. So if you're at Life or Sherman, you could just drive there really easily. And then Dr. Matt, what's the date on July?
So the date on July is, Dr. Kevin's pulling it up right now, and I apologize. I like the email comment. I'm like, oh yeah, he's thinking about me. So dates, I don't want to give anybody the wrong date and be like, pencil it in, write it in. All you techies, put it in.
July 18th through 20th.
18th through 20th. It is we have this stud right here on the phone, and he's so busy. That Saturday he's going to be at Sherman. He's got lots of stuff going on, but we're gonna change your world. We have many amazing people coming up for that as well. So everybody's welcome.
Yeah, I like Adrian's comment about just mindset. By getting plugged in with somebody, the right people while you're in school. Adrian, I know Lindsay, who I mentioned, is actually Adrian's coach, and he's a student through AMC. And somebody helping you stay focused on becoming that successful entrepreneur when you graduate, while you're going through fifth quarter like he is, and going through the doldrums of classes. That is why it's great to plug in. Those of you that will be there in July or October, we'll keep you fired up, focused, and again, we'll turn you into that successful entrepreneur. And if you're now that you're part of this too, you'll start getting our emails. You'll start getting our information, invited to calls and webinars that will keep you fired up and on the right track. All right, well, I think, we've hit 9 o'clock, guys. Listen, just once again, Dr. Matt, myself, we are totally here for you. Dr. Kevin, Tori, Tori, that's the heart going out. Is that what that means?
The heart going out.
Tori, who's been on with us and moderating this, she's here to help, she assists me. So bless you guys. We're here for your future. Look forward to hearing from you and getting on the phone with you. As always, remember who you are.